Following these comments, President of the Faculty Association, Bob Mahon, had his own words to speak on the situation.
In light of the public comment section, and I applaud you for letting the public speak, but I'd like to say a couple things in correction. First of all, Dr. Govinda Swamy is an excellent teacher. In fact, this semester, she was one of the 2 finalists for an Emerson Award. She has high standards. For somebody to bring up her dropout rate in the class, in essence, accuse her of being a poor teacher because of a high dropout rate is absurd. In fact, science department at East Central is one of our strongest departments. In fact, East Central applauds itself, does it not, on our nursing program? Our nursing program comes from the science department. It's part of the science department. If these people weren't tough, we wouldn't have the program that we have. In fact, I'm talking as a teacher now here at East Central for 38 years. Our students have great potential, but the fact is that we have students with poor background. We have students with all kinds of problems. We have students coming to school, some of them for the wrong reasons. And I have a dropout rate in the English department, in English classes, which are much easier than science classes, that average from a quarter to a third of my students in a given semester. In other words, we cannot pass people simply to pass. To bring up the science department's relatively low rate of people completing classes, again, is simply, it's absurd. That's not the way you judge how teachers teach. And finally, as far as this business of taking under advisement policy changes about East Central's, how East Central sets a cut policy, that's not an institutional policy thing. As a matter of fact, most people in this room went to college, right? You know that you had professors whose cut policies ranged from you can come anytime you want to you miss 2 classes and you're out. In other words, from time immemorial, I mean, Plato was the guy who figured out who to kick out of his classes and who to let in, all right? It wasn't the administration, it wasn't the people he was renting the damn space from. So I just want to tell you, from time immemorial, it's the individual instructor who sets the policy, okay, in his classes in a college. This place is a college. It's the prerogative of the instructor to set the policy. Dr. Govinda Swamy said her policy quite clearly. She had it in her syllabus. She went over it the first few days of class to make sure they understood the policy. When the student in question, in fact, got to 2 cuts, Dr. Govinda Swamy sat down with her, okay, and explained she had 1 more cut coming. And it doesn't matter about the quality of the student. If you treat A students different from C students, it's just unjust. In other words, if you have a cut policy, and hers is a tough one, but hers is a tough class. You heard the other 2 people talking, and this whole idea that an athlete, because of unique circumstances, should sometimes get a deal. In fact, it seems to me that the whole argument for athletics got undermined by this whole situation. Why the hell should an athlete be treated different from a normal student? In fact, this student, it's unfortunate, but what happened basically was she decided to go for it, take the 3rd cut on the assumption that her team was not going to make the nationals. And given that it was a mediocre volleyball team, it shouldn't have made the nationals, but they got hot at the right time. And so she's whining, all right? In other words, the fact of the matter is, if Ms. Leslie's daughter, okay, is such a go-getter, she made a decision. The decision, again, was basically to put volleyball ahead of biology. Fine, but you gotta live with your decisions, all right? The faculty member in question did nothing wrong whatsoever. And assumption, again, that she did is simply, it's bogus. And I would urge you to, this was the perfect storm, it'll go away. I hope you, I advise you, okay, to take under advisement nothing at all. In other words, the cut policy is established by the instructor like it always has been. It's always gonna be that way, and that's the way it should be. So, my rant is over. But seriously, I think it needs to be said. In other words, you know, like, in fact, if I got anything out of tonight, it's like, we didn't go far enough in cutting athletics. We went from 6 to 3 teams. If this is the kind of stuff that's gonna come up, then we ought to go to no teams.
That's it? Okay. We want to thank you all for coming. We want to thank you for your comments. As a board, we will take all this under advisement. And so, thank you for coming.
So there you have it. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check us out on ECCcornerstone.com and watch out for our print edition coming soon.